Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant from Akul Mac Technologies, and welcome to Legal Matters. Friends, as you know, in this series, we actually call expert and we discuss the legal matters which affects the people by and large in our daily day-to-day life. And today, without further ado, let me present Mr. Jeet Bhatt to you. Jeet is a very well-known lawyer practicing in Ahmedabad High Court, and he joins us from Ahmedabad. Jeet, welcome to Legal Matters.
Thank you very much, Chandrakant, for introducing me and using such uh, kind words. It's my pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward for the discussion on legal matters.
It is our pleasure, Jeet. In fact, what I want to discuss with you today is something related to your profession. And, if we commit something wrong, general public, then we have to go to the court and fight the case. At the same time, when we are fighting our case, we have to, contract a lawyer who can represent us in a proper way in the court. So this discussion today is about related to whether a lawyer conduct or lawyers, approach towards your case and about you, is it within the purview of professionalism or is it outside the purview of professionalism?
Yes, Chandrakant, it's a very important question, and I think it is the question that is being asked and raised around law schools and even in societies in open discourses regarding the professional ethics of lawyers and the duties of lawyers towards client, and also whether a lawyer can refuse to defend an accused because the lawyer thinks that he has committed a serious offense or because of his moral principle. But basically, before starting, let me introduce you my profession, that is the legal profession. In fact, it is considered as one of the most noble professions in amongst all professions, and it is not considered as a business or a business activity. The difference between having a business and being in a profession is that in a business, people sell goods or buy services, but in this legal profession, the persons involved use their knowledge and skills. So therefore, this is considered on a higher pedestal than other businesses. It is not a commercial activity, and it is one of the most oldest professions in the history of civilization. And certainly, it is a distinguished profession, and it carries a lot of responsibilities. And throughout history, if you see, lawyers have done and given great service to the society, considering our independence movement also having all legal luminaries in this during the freedom struggle. So certainly there is a huge responsibility on the lawyers, and they have to serve the society, which is the ultimate goal of this profession. And considering that, the after independence, the Advocates Act 1961 was enacted, and wherein professional ethics and code of conduct has been prescribed for the lawyers, wherein the lawyers not just have a duty towards the court, but they also have a duty towards their client. They also have a duty towards the opposing party. They also have a duty towards their other members of the legal profession. But basically, lawyers are the officers of the court, and they are considered to be the servant of justice. So that is their ultimate goal. They are above all the officers of the court of the on the administration of justice delivery system. They play a very important part, and therefore their primary duty is to be very fair and dignified towards the court, also not to impact the decision of a court by any unlawful or inappropriate means, and to use the best of their services and skills in order to benefit their clients. But they are also not servants of their clients, because they are not bound to say or do whatever their clients say, because they also owe a duty to the court first and then to their client. So these are the broad duties which a lawyer has towards the court. Then the duty towards his client is that once he accepts the brief, then he cannot withdraw from the action or engagement unless he has an appropriate cause to do. He cannot accept and appear in a case in which he has reason to believe that he will be a witness, and he has a duty to make full disclosure against his connection with the parties or interest before the commencement of engagement. So that is, if he if he's in any ways related to the other side or to the opposite side, then he cannot take, because there's a conflict of interest. And so he has to make a full disclosure that there is no conflict, and then only if there's no conflict he can take up the engagement or the brief. Then his duties are to have privileged communication, because the who are there to engage him, inform him, or give him the details, those are considered to be privileged communications, and that cannot be shared with anyone, not even to the court. Uh, so these are his basic duties towards his client, and then he also owes a duty towards the opponent, and he has to act responsibly towards his opponent, and he cannot negotiate or communicate in any way to the opposite party without his client's consent. And also the duty towards his colleague is that he cannot advertise, or he cannot solicit work directly or indirectly. And that is why in the legal profession in our country, it is not permitted to have advertisement boards or hoardings, or they cannot in any way try to solicit work directly or indirectly. So these are the broad duties of the lawyers towards the court, towards his client, towards the opponent, and towards the other legal members of.
So, Jeet, you have put it very nicely, and you have actually given the definition and the boundaries of the legal profession very nicely, so that our viewers can know, what are the obligations of a lawyer when they engage with a lawyer. However, I must say that in reality, even lawyers are humans, and they are also affected by their personal lives, their ideological differences, and their political views. So, in those scenarios, what is in reality happens which should not happen? Do you have any opinion on that?
Well, yes, ultimately it depends on every individual, but the roles and responsibilities are clearly defined under the Code of Conduct and Ethics, which has been prescribed by the under the Advocates Act and by the Bar Council of India. So it is the duty of every lawyer to accept and act in accordance with such duties. But sometimes we see that it does not happen, and not every lawyer adheres to his professional ethics very strictly. But I think this is as it is a very noble profession. I think every advocate must act and are duty bound to adhere to these principles and ethics sincerely. And if they do so, then again, this legal profession will be considered to be one of the most, and it is, in fact, right now, it is considered to be a noble profession. But with respect to, as you say, asked whether the lawyer's morality, or the lawyer's belief that his client is accused, and can he refuse to appear, in that respect, I would like to just point your attention to the one of the rules of ethics, which provide that an advocate is bound to accept any brief in the court or tribunal, or before any other authorities, in or before which he proposes to practice, at a fee consistent with his standing at the bar. So there is a duty uh, specifically prescribed under the Code of Ethics, where an advocate is bound to accept a brief where he practices. So a lawyer cannot refuse to defend a accused person on the ground that he thinks that he is guilty, or he might be guilty of committing such an offense, which might be a heinous offense, which might be related to rape or murder, or any other serious offense like narcotics, or even terrorist activity. So that is provided under the Code of Ethics, and a lawyer is duty bound. And if you see historically, all great lawyers on criminal sides have never refused to accept a brief, only because they believe that their clients have committed the offense. So
So,
even
so
yes.
Jeet, I have a question on this aspect. See, you say that the lawyer should not look at should look at the merits of the case, and then look at from the legal standpoint, and not really bother about what is the outcome. However, we have seen many times. In fact, I'm going to quote certain incident which we have all heard in public domain. Things like cases related to Kasab, where the lawyer was not available. There was no lawyer willing to take his case. Then there were other cases also. There was a case where a small child was murdered in a school in Delhi, and then the bar council had a divide, and there are a lot of politics there. And what I'm talking about is that there were two set of lawyer. One was saying that, hey, we should fight this case. Others were saying we will not fight this case. So this is not the code of conduct as you have described today. And as we know, for lawyers, they cannot refuse a client basically. Yet we are hearing this in the public domain quite a few times.
Yes, Chandrakant, you are right. There have been several such instances, specifically starting from Kasab. Uh, well, in Kasab's case, ultimately the government had to grant him access to a lawyer, and he was represented, though after much, uh, because the lawyer who was representing him was given death threats, and therefore he had to be provided security. But ultimately, he was provided, because the reason being that in a democratic setup, the right, every individual has a right to a fair trial, and a fair trial is not possible unless you have a defense counsel representing you. And it is every citizen's fundamental right to access to justice, and also the right to have a counsel of his own choice, that is provided under the constitution as a fundamental right under article 22. And therefore no person can be denied, and if such person is denied this right to have a counsel, the fair trial itself is denied, and that can lead to a travesty of justice. So to avoid this, the legal profession prescribes for this code of conduct, wherein a lawyer is bound to accept a brief, and he cannot decide on whether his client is guilty or innocent, because that question is before the judge, and the judge has to decide on the basis of the legal evidence which is available and produced by the prosecution, that whether he is guilty or innocent. The lawyer should not take on the responsibility of a judge and decide before the judge pronounces whether he is guilty or innocent. So that is the responsibility of the judge and not of the lawyer. Second, there is a presumption in our legal system that every person accused is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty. And this is the cardinal principle of our criminal justice system. And based on this principle, every person, if is presumed to be innocent, then the lawyer should not jump upon and come to the conclusion that he appears to be guilty and therefore refuse his brief. But there's a slight exception to this, when the when the client would confess that I have committed this offense. But until that confession comes before the client, the lawyer must not presume that he is actually guilty and refuse this brief. So, so that is the basic right of every individual, and every individual is entitled to the access to counsel and access to justice. So therefore, lawyers should not refuse. Now, the second question: if what happens if a client confesses before the lawyer that yes, I have committed this offense. In such circumstances, the lawyer can refuse if he has not taken up the case. So before taking up the case, the lawyer can say that because of your confession, I think this is morally incorrect, and since you have confessed that you have committed this offense, I don't think it right to take up your case. On that ground, the lawyer is justified to refuse. But if the lawyer, having taken up the case and thereafter the client confesses that yes, I have committed this offense, then the lawyer should not refuse to carry on with his engagement in that case, and cannot refuse, because that refusal will amount to prejudicing his case before the court, and that a lawyer is not entitled to do. So therefore there's a distinction, that if before taking up the case the lawyer does not want to take up because the client has confessed, then he is entitled. But after taking up the case, the lawyer cannot refuse to carry on with the trial on the ground that he is aware that. But then the role of the lawyer is also towards the court. There also the lawyer will have to be very careful, because he cannot permit the client to produce any false evidence. That cannot be done. So So if that is done, then he can inform his client that I will not be a party to leading any false evidence before the court. But if he is aware, then he should tell his client not to produce any false or misleading evidence in order to mislead the court.
Jeet, we have discussed a lot about code of conduct for the lawyers, which has been set in the legal system. However, the lawyers operate in a bar council. You know that every bar council has every large court or high court has a bar council, and sometimes the decisions are sometimes political or apolitical. It depends on the situation. So, do you have an opinion about the functioning of the bar council?
As you earlier asked, that bar associations have passed resolutions asking its members not to appear for any accused. But with respect to those resolutions, the Supreme Court has pronounced a judgment in 2010 in the matter of A.S. Muhammad Rafi versus State of Tamil Nadu, wherein the Supreme Court has said, and I quote, that in our opinion, such resolutions are wholly illegal, against all traditions of the bar, and against professional ethics. Every person, however wicked, depraved, vile, degenerate, perverted, loathsome, vicious, or repulsive, he may be regarded by the society as a right to be defended in a court of law, and accordingly, it is the duty of the lawyer to defend him. These are the words of the Honorable Supreme Court in a matter where the some bar associations and district bar associations had passed resolutions asking its members not to appear for the accused person. So such types of resolutions are clearly in violation of the mandate of the Supreme Court's judgment, as well as against the principles of legal ethic, and also in violation of the fundamental rights of every citizen. So such resolutions should not be passed. In fact, the Supreme Court has dealt with this issue in detail, and it gives an historical example in this connection regards to the trial of a famous jurist named Thomas Paine, who was tried for treason, and a famous English lawyer who was the Advocate General at that time of Prince of the uh, Wales area, Mr. Thomas Erskine, who was said that if you appear for this accused, then you will be dismissed from the office as Advocate General. But that lawyer, undeterred, accepted the brief and ultimately was dismissed from his office. And he, in his book, writes that, and I quote him, that from the moment that any advocate can be permitted to say that he will or will not stand between the crown and the subject arraigned in court where he daily sits to practice, from that moment the liberties of England are at an end. If the advocate refuses to defend from what he may think of the charge or of the defense, he assumes the character of the judge. Nay, he assumes it before the hour of the judgment, and in proportion to his rank and reputation, puts the heavy influence of perhaps a mistaken opinion into the scale against the accused, in whose favor the benevolent principles of English law make all assumptions. This practice has been accepted in India as well. And so, question a lawyer should always ask is not whether the client has committed the offense or not, but the question that he must ask to himself is whether the prosecution can prove beyond reasonable doubt the charges that has been leveled against him. So if that question is asked and the trial proceeds on that ground, then lawyer should not refuse on the basis that he believes the accused to be guilty.
I think there is a lot of learning in today's discussion, Jeet. I think this discussion is very valuable for the viewers who are watching this program. And, many people don't talk about, professionalism in the legal world. But I think today's session is based on that. And I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart to bring this out very clearly that the legal profession is a very noble and very pious profession. And I think we should have faith. All of us have faith in this legal profession.
Absolutely, Chandrakant. In fact, it's my pleasure, and I'm happy that your viewers will find it informative and educational. So that is the whole purpose and idea of doing this interaction.
Certainly. So let me address the viewers. If you have any questions from Jeet or any other legal question, you can write it to us and we can bring you either live in the show or we can present your question and get an answer. So with that, I will end this discussion today. Thank you very much, Jeet. for joining us today. We will catch up again next Thursday.
Thank you very much, Chandrakant.
Bye-bye.